Hey there. Welcome to episode 4 of the Boob Report podcast, powered by Helix Interactive. Today, I'm hanging out with Sandy Priester, the executive director and co-founder of LifeSpark Cancer Resources, a 17-year-old nonprofit organization that provides Reiki and healing touch statewide in Colorado to cancer patients and their caregivers. She has been practicing energy therapies for over 3 decades. We are going to be talking about the benefits of healing touch and how it calms the body to help in healing. Okay, well, welcome, Sandy. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really are looking forward to chatting with you.
Great. I am just excited to be here to be part of your launching your boob report and all good things that are happening with you, Michelle.
Yes. So we are very excited. This is a treat to have you on. So I wanted to go over some questions. You were kind enough to send me some stuff that we really wanted to touch on during this podcast. And I wanted to ask you, just for people who don't really understand and exactly what all it is that you do, what are Reiki and healing touch?
Okay, so Reiki and healing touch are two forms of energy modalities that are very helpful. They help people relax, to sleep better. They help with pain, stress, depression. These are hands-on therapies. Normally, in normal times, non-COVID times, these are hands-on therapies, and we just use a gentle, light touch, and it just helps the body come back into balance. It brings the body back into what they call rest, digest, and restore, which just helps the body just come back into balance and feel better. Really simple.
Yeah. And that, I think that's so amazing too, because it's just the mind body experience and being able to just get in tune with yourself, especially when you're going through something as devastating as a cancer diagnosis. How does it help cancer patients?
Well, so, going through, as you mentioned, I mean, going through cancer is very stressful. And then there's all the side effects with all the treatments. If people are going through chemo, they usually have nausea and, they can have a lot of side effects. So these therapies help with pretty much all the side effects. I mean, they help people. A lot of people have, especially like with radiation and chemo, they have a lot of fatigue. And so these therapies can be very helpful to give them a little bit more energy, a little energy boost. I mean, it's ironic, they help people sleep, you can relax better, but then you also can have a little more energy. And it's because it brings the body back into that balance point that I mentioned, where the body just knows how to sort of bounce back and be more itself. And so it really helps with all the side effects of treatment. And then, of course, with stress, depression, I mean, who doesn't have stress going through cancer? And so it just helps people feel more calm and peaceful and more hopeful. I mean, who doesn't want to feel more hopeful when you're going through cancer?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, anything that can help with maintaining as positive an attitude as you possibly can, I think is beneficial. Plus it's, I talk to a lot of people about self-care. It's looking out for yourself.
Yes.
Anything you can do to just really help you, get through that journey after the cancer diagnosis. So what exactly is the research for the therapies that we're talking about here?
Well, so there are actually about 150 studies on Reiki and healing touch. Some of them are small studies, but there are a few large studies, and they all pretty much say the same thing. They basically say, first of all, that it's safe. That's the first thing you want to know. They're completely safe. But then they help, again, with the things I've already mentioned: stress, depression, pain, sleeplessness, fatigue. They help with all of those things. There have been a couple of studies of note. There was one at Harvard University for Reiki that showed that it helped with pain, anxiety, stress, depression. One at University of Iowa that was with really that it supports the immune system. And boy, isn't that important in today's times.
Oh gosh,
that it really helped the immune system be stronger. There was one at St. Joe's Hospital in Minnesota that showed that people actually had a slightly shorter hospital stay, which was pretty remarkable So those are just a few of the larger studies, and there's a lot of small ones. But in addition, I just have to say, so LifeSpark has done some informal studies. We did one at Anschutz Cancer Center because that's one of our hospital locations, and we had 35 patients that received a self-survey before their session and after their session. A short session, only like 15-20 minutes long. And the results were that pain dropped by about a third, and stress and depression dropped by 2/3. So that's just one of the informal survey that we've done that really shows some great results.
That's amazing. That is so amazing. Now, what brought you to this specific career path, if you will?
Well, I don't know. I think I was just looking for something. I was in the advertising field for many years, radio advertising field, and I just I don't know. I had a session one time with a Reiki practitioner, and I was just stunned when it was just a sample demo. I was just stunned when she put her hands on my head, and she started telling me about what was going on in my left ankle. I'm going. Anyway, it was one of those, one of those points where you just go, I want to know more about this. What is this? And so I started, I had a bunch of sessions, I started taking classes, and then, so that was like at least 30 years ago. So then I started this long journey with that first Reiki. Reiki was my first modality. And it just helped me, heal some emotional things. It helped me in so many ways, spiritually, emotionally. And then, of course, I learned it, but then I learned Healing Touch, and then Healing Touch got me even more engaged because Healing Touch has some specific techniques and practices that are just really remarkable. I've used it with my husband, and my husband, okay, so I have to tell you about that. So he's an RN, he's a trained nurse, trained in the scientific method. And, when I first learned Reiki, he's just kind of like, well, okay, whatever, Sandy, I support you. I love you. but so I would come home from training, and I'd say, Bob, I have to practice. Can I practice on you? And so he'd say, well, yeah, sure, of course, and pretty soon he'd be falling asleep. And then pretty soon he started noticing that it was helping him. Like he'd go out and he'd working outside or something. He'd have an arm issue, and he'd say, hey, Sandy, can you come over and give me a little bit of that stuff on my arm, and pretty soon one thing led to another. And he became sold on these therapies because they helped him so much. And in fact, then he learned Reiki and Healing Touch so that he could become a provider.
I think, for me, just going through this whole journey myself, I love the ability to integrate different forms of therapies, with going with traditional and more homeopathic, being able to integrate the two modalities, I think really helps a lot of people. And it introduces people to a whole new way of going through therapies, how to deal with pain, rather than just automatically reaching for, a painkiller or aspirin or what have you, that they have this extra therapy that they can look at that's more healthy, non-invasive, and, just a little more gentle on the psyche and the body itself.
Boy, I agree with that. I mean, anything we can do to help people do something that's healthy and natural. I mean, it's, there are drugs for everything. There's drugs for pain, drugs for stress, drugs for depression, and sometimes those drugs are needed. But, boy, if a person doesn't have to take them, I mean, those drugs, in most cases, they just cover it up, which can be helpful. It can be necessary.
Right.
But boy, what about getting to the underlying imbalance that created the stress or that created the pain? And I'm not saying that we can always cure those things, but these therapies really support the body in just getting back to a place where the stress just isn't there. I mean, it just sort of goes away for a while. Instead of covering it up, it just kind of goes. I mean, why not do something healthy that supports the body?
I absolutely agree with you. And I think a lot of it has to do with having options so that people don't feel like, oh, I have to take this or I have to do this.
Mhm.
Here are some things that we can integrate into,
Yes.
the recovery that may be a little better for you. Because,
Yes.
and you and I have talked about this before, not everybody's the same. People
Mhm.
experience these illnesses differently. So I think being able to integrate a more natural way of doing things along with traditional medicine is very helpful so that people don't think, oh, well, why am I not responding this way? So and so responded this way. My doctor said I'm supposed to respond this way. Well, it's because we're all individuals and
Boy,
different.
boy, that is so true. And we each respond in different ways, and finding what works, for me, finding out what works for you, and then going with it and trusting it, and trusting that we can know those things. We can know, oh, this didn't work so well for me. Maybe I just shouldn't do that anymore. But this thing over here really helped. I often think, simple things that we can do that just help us feel better in the moment, that are healthy, like, just getting up and walking around the house, or taking some deep breaths, or maybe I get up and do a few yoga stretches, or
Mhm.
maybe, I go to my Reiki or my healing touch practitioner and get a session every week, and maybe that keeps me in balance and really helps me to not go down that slippery slope of, stress, depression, and all that stuff. Yeah,
Right.
anything we can do that supports us. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think so. I absolutely agree with you. Do you have any interesting stories to share over these last 30 years that you've been
Oh,
involved
there
in
are always stories. And one of my favorite, this is just one of my favorite stories, was one of the, we had a participant who had cancer, who was really, struggling, having a hard time. She started sessions with LifeSpark, Reiki sessions, and she was, really, the provider told me, she looked really pale, and she didn't look well, and she had several sessions. She went in to see her doctor at the doctor's office, and they didn't even recognize her. She looked so different. She probably just looked healthy and vibrant, they didn't even recognize her initially. Anyway, it's just kind of a cool little
Yeah,
story.
absolutely. Well, I think, once you start feeling better inside, that starts showing on the
Yes.
outside. I
Yes,
know
and
that.
I think we walk different. Our
Mhm.
facial expression is different, when we feel good.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I know that was the case for me. I look at pictures of myself before I had my implants replaced, and I can tell that I was tired. The circles under my eyes were darker, and that I just, I didn't feel good, and that was starting to come through on my facial expressions, my body language and things like that. So I absolutely agree with you on that. And it's amazing the amount of um, exhaustion you go through from being in pain and
Oh,
stress.
oh, yeah. Pain just creates stress. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a real tough one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's really difficult to work
Mhm.
with. So, tell us how the program works. How does someone come and start seeing you guys? How does everything start?
So it's pretty simple and easy, really. They just sign up on our website.
Mhm.
And there's a place where it says treatment sign up, and you just sign up, and then we have someone that will call you and talk to you and get a little bit more information. And then right now we have waiting lists. We have about a month's waiting list, but that fluctuates, comes and goes. And then you'll get matched with someone in our program. So it's an 8-week program, and so we will match you, or match the patient with a Reiki or a healing touch practitioner, who will see you every week for 8 weeks.
Mhm.
It's a 1-hour session, and it's totally free. There's no charge. We do this because we have such amazing providers that donate their time
Mhm.
in this program, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple.
That's
I guess I should probably talk about the remote program.
Yeah, let's talk about that because while we're recording this, we're still dealing with the after effects of, if you will, of the pandemic, and still not doing in-person things a lot. So, so yeah, let's talk about how you guys have been able to do this virtually.
Yeah, so when the pandemic started back in March of 2020, we made the decision. So I've been doing Reiki and healing touch for almost 30 years, and during that whole time, I have been doing distant sessions, remote sessions. I mean, it's just part of my training. It's part of what I do. But we didn't introduce distant sessions in LifeSpark. But honestly, I didn't know if people would understand them or would want them,
Right.
But then of course the pandemic came along, and so here we were. What do we do? Well, so fortunately, all of our therapists, almost all of them, are trained in doing remote sessions. So we just switched. We switched on a dime practically, and we began doing distant sessions. And distant sessions. So the thing about distant sessions is that I know they're just as effective as in person, I mean, because I've been doing them for so long, but the experience is different because you're not in the same room with the person. The person doesn't have, you can't feel the warmth of their hands on your body. And so we added a couple things just to help with that. First of all, we do a Zoom call so people can talk, see each other, feel like they can get to know each other a little bit. And then the other thing that we added was guided imagery. And so what we do in a remote session, first you talk with your provider, and they'll ask you, what is it that you're looking for, and so forth. Then they will ask you to go lie down in a quiet place, and they will play guided imagery. So you have something positive to listen to during your session. It gives you something to focus on to keep your mind from going, nah, 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 nah,
Right.
That's what my mind does without something
Mine
to
too.
focus on.
Yes.
So it gives them something positive to focus on during the session. And that while the provider does a full body distant session. And then when it's done, they just check back in, how you doing, and that's it. So it's worked really well. The thing that I love the most about distant sessions, is that not only were we able to serve people during the pandemic when they couldn't go anywhere, but now we can serve people that, I mean, we will go back. We're going back to in-person sessions, but we'll keep our distant program because there are a lot of people that can't get to our locations for geographical reasons, or maybe they're homebound, or a lot of different reasons. And so it just makes our program more accessible.
Well, I love the fact that you guys were able to do that, just basically, switch on a dime and start doing it virtually, but that you're going to continue to do that, because you're right. It opens the door up for so many people across the state of Colorado that you normally wouldn't get to see because they don't have access to you otherwise.
Right.
So I think, I just think that's a beautiful thing that you guys were able to continue doing that. So tell us about the hospital program, because I know you guys work with different hospitals as well in the state on the healing touch.
Right. So we have been working with Denver Health Medical Center for many years. Actually, they were the first hospital that we began working with. We started with them in 2005. So we've been with them for 16, 17 years, doing sessions in their infusion center, and also they would give us a patient examination room where we would do sessions in there. So we would do the weekly sessions, every week for 8 weeks in a patient examination room. And then let's see, I think it was 2017, maybe, no, 2013 or 14. We started at Memorial Hospital in Colorado Springs. And then in late 2017, we began at Anschutz Cancer Center. And so the Anschutz Cancer Center one is the one that has been the most robust and we've seen the most patients at. And in that program, and this is the study I mentioned, we go into the infusion center, and we just, the nurses direct us to patients that they think would benefit. And we just go when we offer them a short, like a 15 to 20 minute session while they're receiving chemo. And it's just very supportive and relaxing, and the patients love it. The nurses love it too, because they can see how much it supports their patients. Right. And so that's the Anschutz program, and Memorial Hospital and Denver Health is similar. We do a similar thing there. And of course we weren't in those hospitals for over almost a year and a half.
Mhm.
with the pandemic, but we're back in all three of them now.
Well, I'm sure that coming in there and being able to meet with the patients while they're going through a very, I mean, I was lucky enough to not have to do chemo or radiation, but I can only imagine how incredibly traumatic that is to your body. And for the nurses to have someone like you guys come in and be able to sit with those patients, I can only imagine how the whole room just changes. There's more kindness, positivity, just all the good stuff, the warm, warm,
Yeah.
fuzzy feeling in a place that's normally pretty scary and
Yes.
stressful.
Yes. 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 And I mean, and I have to say the nurse is doing just an extraordinary job of helping the patients feel calm. But you're right. It's a scary place. And I mean, just because of all that's happening, and so yeah, we really do feel like we sort of bring the stress level down, sort of, not only with the patients that are receiving, but I think there's an effect that sort of goes, when one person isn't as stressed, the person, walking down the hall that sees them, they are distressed, and there's
Mhm.
kind of a ripple effect. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you on that. I know when I go see my oncologist, where their office is, the chemotherapy and immunology department is over on the other side. And I see people going in there, and I can't describe, the look on their face. I mean, the nurses are so sweet and
Yes.
greet them
Yes.
so warmly and
Yes.
do everything they can. I
Yes.
mean, the nurses
Yes.
are like total,
Oh, they're amazing. Yeah.
superheroes, but
Yeah.
there's only so much they can do,
Right.
so to have a program like yours to be able to come in and support them, as and be there for the patients, I just think that's a beautiful thing.
Well, and then speaking of the nurses, I mean, as you said, I mean, they are under huge stress. I mean, they're understaffed now, and the more understaffed they get, the more stress it puts on them, and the more likely people are to leave. And oh my gosh. And so we actually give sessions to the nurses when we don't have patients to see. And so
Oh,
a lot of the nurses have received Reiki or healing touch sessions as well, which they really, really appreciate.
oh my gosh, I just got chills, just goosebumps when you said that. That is so amazing. You guys are just, I can't even. That's just, I don't know. Well, so are you guys working on any interesting projects right now?
Well, actually, and speaking of that, we actually are. we, let's see, about a year and a half ago, we did a Reiki training program for 5 oncology nurses at Anschutz Cancer Center. And it was with the goal of seeing if it would help them improve their resilience, which is, of course, is a function of lower stress and being more able to bounce back when stressors, are coming at you. And the nurses they were just ecstatic with how much it helped them just feel more calm, more rested, relaxed. And so for the last a little over a year, we've been putting together a research study to do another program. That was like a pilot, just a little test. But now we have we're just approved
Ah,
to do a formal study for 16 nurses to train them Reiki as a self-care tool. It's all about self-care
mhm.
for helping themselves stay calm and having more resilience. So
Right.
that's one of the things we're working on right now.
Oh, that's so amazing. I love that. I love it. So if there's one thing you could inspire people to do in regards to, what you do, what would it be?
Well, okay, so I mean it all comes back to self-care.
Right.
And you and I've talked about that many times. It all comes back to self-care. How do we take care of ourselves? How do we make sure that we're feeling good today? What can I do today right now that helps me feel better, that helps me be healthier? It might be just, picking up an apple, or, some fresh fruits, some delicious fresh fruits I might mention, or, I mentioned taking some deep breaths, going for a walk in nature,
Mhm.
how nature just sort of re-energizes us and helps us to be healthier, really. But then if people are really proactive, what I would recommend to them is to learn Reiki or healing touch. because when you learn these therapies, I give myself Reiki almost every day. I mean, we can give ourselves these therapies. I mean, these are so beneficial to other people, but they're also helpful to us. And it helps me stay calm. It helps me stay balanced. It helps me sleep at night. And so it's just, and they're not hard to learn. If anybody wants to know, I know lots of teachers. Just let me know what area of where you live, and I'll get some names of teachers for you. But I just think it would just, it's a great way to keep ourselves healthy.
I love that. Well, we will have information because I have at the end of the podcast and on our website, we have all the information of our guests and the best way to get a hold of you. So we'll have all of that information
that's
on
great.
there. Yeah. So that'll be great. One thing, and we sort of timed when we were going to have this episode drop for Breast Cancer Awareness Month is Sandy's organization. They serve everyone that has been diagnosed with cancer. It doesn't matter what type of cancer you have. And they have an amazing event every year. And it's the Touching Tomorrow event. So tell us a little bit about that. That's coming up. And I'm so excited. I've been to this several times, and it's just the stories and just the overall atmosphere and everybody that's there is just truly amazing.
Yeah. So this is our 15th anniversary of our Touching Tomorrow event. Of course, last year it was held virtually, but it's a time when our community comes together. We always have a medical professional speak. We always hear from at least one individual with cancer that's been through our program that talks about how it helped them. It's very uplifting and inspiring. And it's an opportunity to support us financially because we are asking for financial contributions. However, let me just point out, the event itself is free. It includes lunch. Parking is free. It's in fairly central Denver, which is just south of downtown Denver at the Wilshire Event Center. And so important, it's a chance for us to come together. I just feel like community is more important than ever. If there's anything that COVID taught us, I think it's that coming together as a community, it has power, it has impact, and it helps us. It strengthens our immune system.
Yes,
to be together.
Yeah, it does. Well, I know that it's, I've attended several times in the past, and it's just it's a beautiful afternoon, and the people that you meet are so inspiring. There's survivors there. There's, people who have generously donated to the program. There's just all different kinds of stories. I know one year my oncologist spoke. He was one of the health professionals that spoke. So that was really amazing to get to see him because I just adore him. But it's for you guys to do that, I think it's just a beautiful thing. And it's a great way for people to come together and really feel like they're helping other people.
Yes. It's a great way to support people that you don't know that are going to benefit, and maybe some people that you do know,
right,
that are going to benefit from these therapies, and really make it possible for more and more people to receive the peace and healing that we offer.
That's awesome. Well, so there just a couple of things I want to ask you so that we make sure we cover everything. How does someone sign up for sessions?
Just go to our website. There's a link there that says treatment sign up, and it's pretty simple. Just fill it out, and that's how you sign up.
Awesome. And can someone volunteer for LifeSpark?
So we have the main volunteers that we have are Reiki and Healing Touch practitioners. And so if any of the audience practices Reiki or Healing Touch, we'd love to have you join our team. And there's a link on our website for more information about that. We do have a few opportunities to help us with marketing. We can always use help to sort of get the word out about what we do, what we offer, information about these therapies. That's always helpful too. And of course, we'd love to have you bring people to our Touching Tomorrow event. That's another way to help us.
Yes, absolutely.
Bring someone that you think might be interested in this program, someone that you think might be interested in donating or volunteering. Bring them to Touching Tomorrow.
That's beautiful. And so people can support you guys financially, either through the Touching Tomorrow event, or they can go to your website and make
Yes.
donations as well. And
Yes.
as I mentioned earlier, we will have all of these links and all of this information posted on our website, the Boob Report website. And at the end of the show, we always have show notes, that a brief synopsis of what has happened, what we discussed during the podcast. And we have all of that information listed there as well, all the links and the best way to get a hold of Sandy. So I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you joining me today. This was just amazing. I enjoy any chance I get to talk to you, actually.
Thank you, Michelle. And I have so much respect for what you're doing with the Boob Report. I think it's going to be an enormous service to a lot of people. It's really going to help a lot of people.
Well, I appreciate that. That's, if I can help one person, that's my goal. Hopefully I'm helping more than that, but one person, it makes it all worthwhile. But I'm just very incredibly blessed that I have so many amazing people like yourself that I can talk to and bring on as guests, because I think getting this information out to as many women as possible to help them on their journey is just a gift that I'm so excited that I can do that. So
absolutely.
All right. Well, until next time, we'll look forward to seeing you at the Touching Tomorrow event.
That's great. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to seeing all of you out there that might be listening as well.
Great. Thanks, Sandy. So I think we can all agree how important self-care can be when going through treatment for cancer. If you would like to attend the Touching Tomorrow event on October 15th, benefiting LifeSpark Cancer Resources, you can go to their website, www.lifesparknow.org, and click on the events page and register there. They are an amazing nonprofit that have helped so many people, so let's help them out. A very big thank you to all of you for spending time with us today. Be sure to like and follow us, and definitely share the podcast with your friends. You can become an active listener and support this podcast by clicking on the link on our website at theboobreport.com podcast tab. Take care.